While I was working on this video, I came to a very frightening revelation. I still like the exact same animes I liked when I started watching anime. I went through lists of anime that I had recently reviewed and recently watched, and for the most part, all the couples that I legitimately enjoy are couples that I have watched years ago. There are maybe 1, 2, 3 couples that are on my favorite list that are couples that I've only recently come into or are from newer animes. There's one that's newer to me, but it's an anime that's been out forever. And I was a little worried about that because I just thought, why do I only still like the same couples and the same animes? And I think that anime, in a huge way for me, holds a very nostalgic principle. I was watching Dragon Ball Z and Sailor Moon and Cardcaptor Sakura long before I knew what anime was, and it was one of the first series of shows that really related to me on that really deep level, and the animes that I like now either remind me of those animes or are animes that made me cry. And all the couples that I really, really love from those shows are just the ones that have stuck with me throughout years. And while my opinions on them have grown and evolved, I still like the same ones. But I try to make this video fun and interesting because it's kind of predictable. If you know me, you can probably guess some of these choices, but I do hope that you will enjoy it. And if you want to look and see some of my favorite anime couples and some of my least favorite anime couples, please continue watching, and if you enjoy, please thumbs up, like, and subscribe. Okay, so the first couple on my list is, shockingly, Usagi and Mamaru. I will add one caveat to that. I definitely prefer the manga version of their relationship to the anime. While I do enjoy the anime in many ways, I feel like one of the biggest problems I have with that adaptation is that it very misrepresents the character and personality and relationships of the scouts in many ways, and Usagi and Mamoru. They do a lot of this weird, angsty, will they, won't they, he's being kind of a jerk, and Mamoru doesn't really get the best rap in it. And I think the arc that got the most backlash from me and other fans is when he breaks up with Usagi in that heartbreaking scene. You know, she's crying in the phone booth, telling her dad he can't come to dinner because he sees this image of Usagi dying. He gets scared. And this is so problematic because he's worried about Usagi's safety when she's the one who's always saving him for the most part. And it minimizes Usagi's power, where that's not what Mamoru does. Mamoru in the manga very much is there to be a pillar of strength for Usagi. And it's interesting because the equivalent of that scene in the manga is during the arc with the Black Moon. There's this panel where Mamoru kind of sees Usagi walking away, and it feels like she's fading off into the distance, and his response is just to hold on tighter to her, to not, you know, try to push her away or be angsty, but to pull her in closer and be like, you are my love and I want to be with you and I'm going to protect you, I'm going to stand by you, which is the response that we would want him to have, not I'm going to push you away and be really disrespectful to you and ignore the fact that you're the most powerful person in the universe because of reasons. I think that part of the reason why so many people want Usagi to be with other people is because Mamoru in the anime, which is what more people have been exposed to, is just not always the good boyfriend that he is in the manga. And to me, what I love about Usagi and Mamoru is that they are a team, they are a partnership, and Mamoru is okay to be secondary in that partnership. He knows he's not as powerful, he knows that he's not as strong, but he's okay with that because he knows that what he can do is help support the woman that he loves and help her be like the baddest bitch ever. And that's, to me, one of the best aspects of that relationship, is just how genuinely Mamoru is willing to stand to the side of Usagi and let her shine and not be insecure about that. The next couple is Bulma and Vegeta from the Dragon Ball franchise. I swear, I haven't grown up since I was a kid, but I remember the first reason I ever wanted them to be together was because I realized that they were going to have Trunks, and Trunks was just so pretty. I mean, that was one lovely lavender-haired boy. I feel like the Bulma and Vegeta relationship is so interesting because we know so little about it, but we know that it's, at this point, you know, if you're watching Dragon Ball Super or watch GT, that it functions, that it is something that has a deep emotional resonance for both people. And it's funny to have that happen in stages because every huge milestone in their relationship we have not been privy to. We didn't see them hook up when in between the Android saga because of the 3-year gap, and while fan fiction and the anime kind of tries to give a hint as to what happened, we don't know. It just, every fan fiction about Bulma and Vegeta is either an AU where Bulma's a Saiyan slave human, or it's a 3-year gap. Like, that's something that we're just so curious about. Like, what the fuck happened? How did Vegeta and Bulma end up together when Bulma was dating somebody else? And we know, you know, word of God, that it's just kind of a plot device to get another Saiyan because Vegeta's the only Saiyan left, so you have to, you know, mate him with somebody, and you know, it's shonen, so, you know, girls are there to have babies at a certain point. But at the same time, when we do meet them again in the Android saga, you know, they're not lovey-dovey, they're not a couple. They just bone and they have a kid, and that's, you know, a thing between them. But there's never any time really spent on their emotional connection to each other because, at the most part, there isn't one. You know, Bulma's being a mom, and you feel like she's going to do the whole single mom thing. But then after the Cell Saga, we jump all those years, and they're, if everything that we've heard about in Super, they're married, and they're a couple, and they are much more comfortable and secure in each other, and we have no idea how that happened. I mean, we can infer things based on what has happened before. I mean, when it comes down to it, Trunks dying and being killed by Cell was a major plot development, character development thing for Vegeta. And I think after seeing your son get killed and losing that son in some way when he goes back to the future, he would want to try and hold on to this other part of his legacy and be there in his son's life. So that all makes sense. And for Bulma, you know, she's always been attracted to power and smarminess, and it makes sense that she'd be interested in someone like Vegeta. And you know, some people are like, well, he killed her friends. I'm just like, no one really cares about who killed who in Dragon Ball. Like, even if you kill somebody, if you apologize, you feel really bad about it, you can come back to the team. Like, Majin Buu is, like, a part of the Dragon Ball Z fighter roster. Like, they don't really care that much. But I think what I love about Bulma and Vegeta as opposed to something like Chi-Chi and Goku, which I also think is cute, is that their personality just sync up in this really genuine way that even though Vegeta is very aloof and very like a jerk at times, you see that he cares about Bulma. You see that Bulma, even though she can be, you know, just as jerky as well, cares about him, and they work and they love each other, but it's a different kind of love. And despite not seeing a lot of the development, it actually is well developed. So that's interesting. Anthy and Utena from Revolutionary Girl Utena. I think that this ship is just amazing. Like, I think what I love most about it is that, and spoilers for those who haven't seen this series that I would highly recommend checking out, is that you realize that Utena's entire reason for being, in a lot of ways, of being this strong person is to help Anthy escape. I mean, she saves Anthy from an abusive relationship spanning God knows how long, through being this friend and being this good person, and they save each other in a lot of ways from society. And I think that there's been talks about how, you know, gay is that relationship, and they're lesbians, and I don't know why people try to act like they're not. Like, it's very much there just because they have sex with men. And I think that with Utena's case, you can argue that she's bisexual because she does have an attraction to men and women. But for Anthy, you know, her relationships with men don't seem to be something that she actually seeks out. She seeks out Utena's affection in a lot of ways. And I think that what you get out of this relationship is just this partnership that is just never very clear until you watch the series again. You just see how they bend and flow to each other and how they rely on each other to be each other's strength. Like, Utena needs someone to fight for, and Anthy is there to be that thing. But in a lot of ways, Anthy is fighting for herself and fighting for them, and it's just there's so many feelings about them. They are just this really well done relationship. And I think that despite how you may feel about the ending, because I know the ending was very hard for me, I think the movie sort of gives you a more satisfying conclusion to their relationship. But I think that regardless about the sadder ending where Utena kind of disappears, which I can tell you, when I watched the anime, I was like, wait, that's what happened? They're not just going to run off into like lesbian space and be happy? But it's Anthy walking out of this relationship that's terrible. And I think it's beautiful in a lot of ways to have a couple that can do that. To have a relationship with somebody who frees you from something like that is just so important and so impactful, because we need to realize how important it is to have somebody be able to say you are worth more than what you are given. And this relationship has that in spades. Lina Inverse and Gourry Gabriel from Slayers. I love Slayers. Slayers is like one of those sort of lower budget animes, because it has an okay budget, but you can tell it's more, you know, the pointier lines, the sharp hair, that very Yu-Gi-Oh point aesthetic that can be very ugly but also really cool at times. I love Slayers, and I love Lina Inverse. She's one of my favorite anime characters ever, and I love this relationship because, a lot like Dragon Ball Z, Slayers is not a romance. They are definitely couples, but there's no romance. And I think that what makes Lina and Gourry work so well is that their commitment to each other is apparent platonically and romantically, and I enjoy that. I love couples that can be both just pure platonic friendship and also be really strong romance. And I think that with Gourry and Lina, they definitely love each other. And I think the second season, where Gourry seems to be killed, and that kind of snaps Lina into becoming sort of like the god of the Slayer universe, and Gourry actively going to like bring her back, it shows that there's a romantic attachment to that. But that's not the crux of their relationship. They are partners, they are allies, they're gonna fight together and travel together and just keep, you know, screwing people over and blowing up cities by accident, because that's what Lina does. But that commitment is there to each other. They don't have to kiss and hold hands and be sweet to each other for us to know that they care, because they're gonna stand by each other no matter what. You know, like Lina fucking tore shit up when Gourry got killed, and, you know, she was just not having that shit. And I thought that that was just such a strong episode and strong thing for their relationship, because it showed just how much they care and rely on each other. And I think that it was just so sweet, because it's a show that's so comedic and just so much about the action and the adventure. It's got all those beats, but it can still have time to have those really great character nuances that make you care about these people. And I just think that like Gourry and Lina are just, I just love them. And even though I wanted them to kiss again, and it didn't happen, it was okay, because I knew that no matter what, that these two people were committed to each other. And I know that Gourry's gonna travel the world with Lina forever, and that's all that I really need to know. Roy Mustang and Risa Hawkeye from Fullmetal Alchemist. I mean, just like, they're just one of my favorite anime couples of all time. Because Roy and Risa just work so well together. I know these are not the most intelligent arguments, but Roy and Risa are like two halves of the same fucking whole. Their relationship is so well done, and Risa's just like everything, like that whole ending where she almost gets sacrificed, like they're my babies, and I love them so much. And I think what's so interesting is that it could have gone the route of being super like lovey-dovey and making it very overt, like seeing them in bed together, whatever, but everything about them is subtextual, but you understand that they have a thing. Like, they can't really have one because of the fraternization laws in the military, but their relationship is solid. Like, they are willing to lay down their lives for each other. Don't go anywhere, I cannot follow it. She goes shoot him in the head. Jesus. And the point is that Roy and Risa is a great example of how to write a relationship without making it consume the two people. I mean, their relationship is very much about protecting the other from themselves. And their commitment to each other and their goals are more important than themselves. They are not just, you know, we're going to do this so that we can get married and be in love. I mean, they're both on a path that could lead to them as being charged as war criminals and dying. But they're willing to do that because they're willing to put their integrity and their morals above their own personal safety. And I think that's how their relationship is. They're willing to put their relationship to the side, that romance that they could have, to do this better thing for each other. And that's why they work, because they both understand the importance of making that sacrifice, and they're both willing to make it time and time again. And they're just so just want them to be happy. Syaoran and Sakura from Cardcaptor Sakura. I have a thing for relationships that can start antagonistic and then genuinely and very you know, well characterized turnaround and turn into love and romance when it's done well. I think that's why I will always ship Ash and Misty from Pokemon, because I just like couples that can start off as just being like, yeah, check. And I think also too is that it's a rivalry, not a like, I hate you. It's very more pride. It's kind of Pride and Prejudice actually. Like, Syaoran arrives and he feels very like, who this chick? I'm the one who's descended from Cloudreed. I'm supposed to be the one with all the power, but Sakura is. And I think what the show does is, it and the manga as well, but I think the show spent more time breaking it down, is that Syaoran learns to respect Sakura and respect her power, and through that he learns to just see this sweetness and goodness in her heart that's just so like the episode where, I forget what fucking cloud card they're going after, but it's the second arc and they're like, he's turning all the cloud cards into Sakura cards. She is turning all the cloud cards into Sakura cards, and Sakura cards. The dub is in my brain sometimes. And she falls down the shaft and he's like freaking out because he's just going through all these feels. He doesn't know how he feels. He's thinking about going back to Hong Kong because he just doesn't know how to deal with being in love with somebody. And when she comes up on that little cloud card and she's just like on the little balloon thing and he hugs her, my spirit. Like, I was so like, it got to me. And then in the manga they had like the little bears, and just the movie, like everything about them was just, it was so cute and so sweet and just so well done. Just as you see Syaoran falling in love with Sakura, like all the little episodes where he's just like, you know, being there for her and supporting her, but not also being weird about like her own affections for other people. All he did was like, Errol, you better back the fuck off. Okay, I can't fight Yukito and you gonna have to leave. But the relationship just evolved so well, and I think that's why I also love it. Just little smushies, just want them to be happy forever. And that's why I was kind of hoping that Tsubaya Chronicles was gonna be good, but then it wasn't, and then I had to just let that dream go. But I just love them so much. They're just so sweet and so cute together, and I love that Syaoran's arc in a lot of ways is learning to respect and appreciate Sakura for her power, for her sweetness, for her goodness. Like, I love that that's the arc he has to go through to get with her. Since I played that song for card characters, let me just go back and play this little Revolutionary Girl Utena jam for you. I'm not really a dancer person, but I can carry a rhythm. I just like, first of all, the soundtrack to this anime is boss, by the way. Revolutionary Girl Utena, they were just all that synth. Like, it was just all of the synth beats and just like all of the Jononchi and Mai from Yu-Gi-Oh! I know people will be like, the writers said that they're not a couple, that they're platonic. I don't listen to him. Like, I feel like platonic is his way of being like, I'm not committing to any couples, because Yu-Gi-Oh!, like a lot of shonen, was not committing to couples. I mean, it's about a children's card game. But I think that, again, I love rivalries turned romance, and I think that Jononchi and Mai were definitely one of those relationships where they were rivals, and, you know, he helped her find her heart. But I think what was best was their friendship, and how it started as like this little, like, him thinking that she was pretty, and then that was immediately just turned on its head. But then they're able to become friends. Like, I think from the moment that solidified it for me is when she gives him the card to go in the tournament and go on to help save his sister. I think that is probably the turning point in their relationship. And it's the point where I'm like, oh my god, I could ship this. Because the part where, like, she goes to get the dragon dude, the guy with the red eyes, I think they call him Rex in the dub. I don't know what his name is in the original story. But I do know that was kind of like, okay, whatever. But I think when she actually goes and, oh, also, no, it's when he gets her star chips back. I totally forgot about that. Redact what I just said. When Jononchi gets her star chips back and he's like playing with her emotions, that's when I was like, oh, okay, I can live with this. And I think that's why I hated that damn arc with the motorcycles, because that was just some bullshit. I mean, because what I always hated, and this is kind of a side note about Yu-Gi-Oh, but even though I loved Yu-Gi-Oh, I always hated that the female duelist could never just accomplish anything, because Mai was such a good duelist, and it was proven that even without the tricks, she could like beat bitches' asses, but she could never win because of plot. Like when she in the Battle City tournament, she went against Malik. She not gonna win that battle. You crazy? She's not gonna win. Like, you just be upset the whole time. Like, and now she's gonna be in a coma for half the episode. And then, you know, she gotta save her and let her be her save. Like, it was just so frustrating because it's, like, so cliche. And just like, Shonen, do better. But I love Mai. And I always hate that she's not gonna be in the new movie. I'm just like, y'all are haters. She's the only female duelist worth a damn. Because we both know Anzu ain't shit. And then next is Ichigo and Rukia. And yes, I said it, even though I haven't fucked with Bleach in minutes. This is why I feel like this is so weird, because it's like I haven't watched Bleach in like years. Like literally like maybe 5 or so years. I definitely haven't read a Scandalation at least 3. And yet, when I was coming up with this list, I was like, Ichigo and Rukia. But I don't fuck with Bleach no more, but I fucks with them. I even just bought a Rukia pop the other day, because as soon as I saw it, I was like, Rukia! And I'm just like, I don't even watch this show anymore. Right, Rukia? Right, boo? Hey. But Ichigo and Rukia is just, have always shipped them. Always, always, always and forever. Because I love just their friendship. I love that he went to Soul Society and like he powered up 10 stats to get her back. And I was always hating how they fucked that up, and I don't appreciate Orihime, but that's okay, you know, God bless. They're always there to pick each other up. Like, even though she's pissed, like, you see Rukia kind of like being all like, well, I'm gonna die. And Ichigo comes, just drops down with half his shirt open, and she like, girl, I told you not to come after me, but thanks for coming to save me. Like, it's so many feelings. And I just feel like what frustrates me about this, kind of similar to Yu-Gi-Oh, is that Rukia starts out the series as being capable, even without her abilities, but then she just becomes less and less powerful as the series goes on. I mean, she'll get like her power stat boost, because it's shown that you have to give everyone power stat boosts eventually. But Rukia as a character just kind of like flitters off, like every character that's not Ichigo or dealing with Ichigo's immediate arc. And I just feel like, I love them so much. And I know they're probably not going to end up together. He's probably going to do that Orihime Ichigo bullshit. Okay, guys. But their friendship and their camaraderie with each other and how they use each other to depend on each other, and just, I love that, you know. I love more than anything, like I said in the Usagi Maru, is a couple that can be strong together and isn't afraid to let the other person be the strongest one. Like, I don't like that it's always, in most relationships, the guy being the strongest one and the girl being like, I'm here to, like, give you a pep talk. But I do appreciate those elements in a relationship, because that does happen, and you need to be a united front and not just be like, I hate you because you're better than me, blah, 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 blah. But I always feel like there's this weird intimacy, because his first abilities came from Rukia's power. Like, he has Rukia inside of him, okay? Like, I'm just gonna put that out there. Ichigo got a little bit of Kuchiki in him. Haruka and Michiru from Sailor Moon, because lesbians. They are just, this was my first, and I think for most people, this was everyone's first. Actually, well, I can't talk about them without playing this. Okay, that's better. So, Haruka and Michiru was probably most people's first lesbian couple, if it wasn't Anthy and Utena. And I think that it was the first time I've ever seen 2 women be in love and fight for each other. And that's just so impactful to me, because being a queer person, it was one of the first times I was like, oh, it's okay. And I will always be bitter that the dub did this change and made them fucking cousins. Cousins, bitch? Okay. But in the manga, when I finally realized that they were in a relationship, it was just so strange, because I hadn't put that together until someone explained it to me. And I don't even think I really processed that they were cousins in the dub. I just felt like I've never done this with my cousins before. Like, just gaze longingly at each other and be like, what up, cuz? What up? Like, it didn't work for me, so I don't think I ever believed that they were cousins to begin with. And I also didn't believe that people with those varying different hair colors could be related, which is how I knew that Usagi was reincarnated by her family, because they were all, like, not blonde or looked like her at all. Not the point. But I think that they're just perfect together. They fit perfectly together. They're both gorgeous. They both have like the boss ass abilities. I think that episode where Michiru walks through those like spikes and they get attacking her to kind of save Haruka. I was like, go get your girl or your cousin, depending on what the adaptation says. And I have loved them ever since. Homura and Madoka from Madoka Magica. This is just almost everything about Madoka I love anyway, besides just how the art can look sometimes. It's kind of ugly, but most of the time it's cute. I think that this is probably, of the newer couples that I've watched throughout the years, the one I enjoy the most, because they just have this, the fact that Homura is willing to sacrifice so much of herself, so much of her soul to save Madoka, because she just sees the goodness within this girl and just thinks you are worth saving time and time again. And that just breaks my heart. I love those kind of relationships. I love those couples. It just broke me every time. And I haven't rewatched the series in such a long time because I just could not deal with the feelings I was having towards them. But I think that it reminds me a lot of Anthy and Utena. It's another one of those couples where I'm going to be strong for you and take care of you and help you be free. And I think that in both ways, Madoka helps Homura to be free, and Homura helps Madoka to be free from different things. Madoka helps Homura be free of her fear and fear of her helplessness. And Homura gives Madoka a purpose where she felt like she had none before. And I just, of my newer anime couples, they are probably my favorite. Let's see, are there any other like honorable mentions? There's that couple from Steins Gate. I forgot their names, but picture here. I loved them. They were great. From that anime number 7. Those two guys, they were really cute. I think that, and I love Toya and Yukido from Cardcaptor Sakura. I think that they were one of my first male queer ships that I ever seen. One of the first gay ships I'd ever seen when I was growing up. And again, like, even though they tried to make it seem like they were totally straight in the anime, I was like, but I don't really think so. And I'll talk about that with Syaoran as well later, because Syaoran is like my little bisexual prince, and I think he's fabulous. So those are some of my favorite anime couples. So briefly, I'm just going to go through some of my least favorite ones, and I wrote them down. And I'm not going to say much about them, just a few lines about each, just so you know what I hate, and you guys can tell me how stupid I am. So 1, Videl and Gohan. Boring times 2. They made Pan. And even though Super is making me like them a little bit more, I just feel like Videl got screwed in that relationship. She went from being boss-ass bitch to being totally domestic. And I say there's nothing wrong with being domestic, but it just was such a hard switch. Just kind of like Chi-Chi. Like, Videl was definitely like, you know, short hair in an episode, power girl, and then you just never saw that again. So, Seiya and Usagi. No. And I don't like people who use transphobic reasons to dislike this ship. I dislike it because Usagi, 1, doesn't want it, and 2, Seiya is basically putting her emotions that she has towards somebody else onto Usagi. It's not about Usagi herself, and Seiya's also doing this after Mamoru has just been killed, so it's also like, what? But I don't know if I think I'm just gonna call Seiya they, because I don't really know what gender the Starlights are, because it was never explained, or if they assigned to a gender in general. But however, I don't like it, and I don't really understand why other people do, unless you are using it as a representation thing, to which I can understand that. But overall, Usagi shows no interest in Seiya in any serious way. So Inuyasha and Kagome, over it. Hated them. So annoying. Shishomaru and Kagome and Shishomaru and Kagura. Like, this Shishomaru Kagome faction is huge. And I'll admit, I read like 1 or 2 of them fanfictions, because sometimes I'd be like, a good fanfiction will convert me to almost any ship. If you can make it good enough and smutty enough, I can be on that wavelength. But No, there's no way that Shishomaru and Kagome would ever make any sense at all. And then Shishomaru and Kagura, I just don't go there at all, ever. Even now that I've evolved and I don't hate female characters for just being the characters that I like, because I used to be that shallow. I just think that their relationship is just, there is no relationship. He just feels bad for her. I know they're like, word of God said that there would have been a thing. Well, she did, so it doesn't matter. Ichigo and Orihime from Bleach, again. Orihime? Really? I mean, if that's your preference. Ray and Chad from the Sailor Moon anime dub. Hashtag Ray be gay. Like, I hate this. I hate it so much. Of all of the Sailor Moon mistakes that were made in the anime, this one is the worst. I didn't even bother to look up Chad's name in Japanese because I don't let demons into my life. Chi and Hideki from Chobits. I just fucking hate Chobits, and I hate this couple because it's all over the fucking place. I remember when I was a kid, I was a teenager, and one of my friends loved Chobits and wouldn't stop fucking talking about this shit. And I was like, alright, I'll read it. Terrible. Sakura and Sasuke from Naruto. Sasuke should have died. Fuck Sasuke. He's the worst. I hate him. I don't ship Sakura and Naruto, but I ship Sakura with someone with sanity and peace of mind. So, fuck that. Errol and KO from Cardcaptor Sakura. Age of consent means nothing to Clamp, because when I saw this in one of the last panels of the manga, I was like, what? She's a grown-ass woman and he's a child. They're like, well, you know, he grows slow and he's a child. He's a child. And she's already dated one of her students before. This is not a good trend, KO. That's not okay, KO. No, KO. Step away from the children. It freaks me out, and Clem does this, like, a lot. Like, it's a lot of, like, oh, you know, you're the young teacher and I'm the student, and, like, just wait, like, a few years and then we can be together. These are children. Stop it. And finally, Anzu and Yugi, or Anzu and Yami, whichever one, just terrible. That episode where, like, they go out on a date and it's, like, Anzu, like, doing some, like, dance revolution thing. I'm still scarred by that. Why did we have to deal with that? Ever? Anzu, Taya,